People are always surprised when I tell them that I'm working in Salina, Kansas at one of the largest record-producing facilities in North America.
We are smack dab in the middle of Kansas. I like to say we're in the middle of everything.
I don't know of another place on the planet that does it all. From the microphone, to the mastering, to the plating, to the pressing, to the sleeving, to the distribution, going to the consumer.
And it takes a real attention to detail and a real focus on quality with every single one of the components. And to do that is not easy. I'd say it's entirely unique. This is why Salina is the center of the vinyl universe.
The reason we want to do everything here is we can see it as it's being made. If there's something wrong, we can change it.
Well, audiophiles, of course, are always in pursuit of better sound, always trying to make tweaks and adjustments to eke out just a little bit more quality.
I'm one of them. You know, I'm a consumer, I'm a record collector, I'm an audiophile, I'm a music lover. It's my hobby.
The team that we have, these guys just all care. They want to make the best.
We're trying to keep the level high on every aspect. And so what my job is to hire the best people in the world and then just to get out their way. And it's their passion, just like it's my passion.
I wanted to be involved with the music industry, and then here I am now selling records. Middle of nowhere, Kansas, and I'm still involved with the music industry.
Getting the opportunity to do what I do for a living is awesome because I love music.
Jazz, Jimi Hendrix, Nina Simone.
Emo, post-emo, post-hardcore stuff.
I'm more of a rocker, but I like the blues, and I've gotten into jazz.
Tommy Dorsey, Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole.
Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, of course.
I love ABBA. ABBA is my all-time favorite because I can always have a good dance to ABBA.
I've always wanted to be part of a team that somebody said, man, you guys do the best. You make the best.
This whole hobby is about subtle differences.
Chad is very dogged about attention to detail. That translates to every department.
A lot of these things are very small details that may not seem like they really would amount to much. But when you add them up, each thing individually contributing to the next thing, at the end of the day, you do have the highest quality product.
They get our final product and they know, wow, there's something about a record that's pressed at QRP, quality record pressings. And they know Analog Productions only picks really good records. Everything we've done has all been about quality, and we want to show people.
I want them to be like, you made that where? I want them to see this place and be like, how are you guys doing this in a place that's just a little town in the middle of the US? I want people to see this.
We really are doing something special here, and in fact, something historic.
To see these people come together with passion and want to be the best and want to make the best records on the planet, they inspire me every day.
The Vinyl Vault is our pre-owned inventory, and it's important for us for a couple of reasons. I think most importantly because it is the direct connection to the origins of the business.
The reason I love the Vinyl Vault is because I still collect records. We like to buy large collections from audiophiles that care about the quality of their records and treated their records well.
We don't just buy used records, we buy important used records.
People spend their lives putting these collections together. They at least want the person that's getting it to recognize that's just not another Doors record. That's the Doors mono, 1967, unplayed.
Another big difference between the Vinyl Vault and what people might be able to find elsewhere on the internet or at a used record store is that we have experts. We have very passionate experts that are grading the product, that are hand-selecting most collectible titles, the most collectible records, the most collectible versions of those records.
We recognize that our clients are looking for the very best. They're prepared to pay a little bit more because we do all the work. We assess, we evaluate, and that takes a real expertise, kind of develop an eye and an ear for records.
The Vinyl Vault is like the most collectible, coolest, rarest, best pre-owned records there is. We guarantee them, so if you're not satisfied with the quality of the product, you can send it back.
We want to sell service and quality. That's what we're all about, service and quality.
There is nothing more rewarding than to have somebody buy a record from us and get an email or a note or a call telling us just how glad they are to have this record. That's the reward. We're making a lot of people happy. Nothing is more gratifying than finding one of your favorite titles in good condition.
Well, in about 1997, we were looking around town for houses, and the church was just across the street. I bought it for storage. Now, my mom was walking around inside, and she heard her voice, while we were talking. She says, wow, this would be a good studio. Then I hired David Baker, one of the top jazz engineers, to fly to Salina, and he says, this room is better than any studio in New York City.
Here he bought a near 100-year-old Gothic-style church in the middle of Salina, Kansas, and decides to make a world-class recording studio and concert hall.
We started having blues concerts in 1998, and now we have the mastering facility inside the church, and we do our tape duplication inside the church.
Doug Sachs opened the mastering lab in 1968. There are so many TML records out there, and they're still prized by collectors today because they sound good.
All of this legendary all-tube gear that made the mastering lab, along with the genius of Doug Sachs, is now here at Blue Heaven Studios as part of Acoustic Sounds.
Today, the reissues have become the new gold standard. Chad is getting the best titles that at one time were so scarce and so expensive.
The workflow specific to vinyl reissue, which is a big part of what we do, that's our Analog Productions label, starts with a selection of a title. Then the next step is to identify if the source is available, the source that we want. What we want is the absolute original analog master tape.
Analog has that sound that people like and want. They're the source, the gold standard as far as the material on any of these albums that we're working with.
If we can't get that original analog master tape, we'll pass. Mastering has to do with setting the volume levels of these different channels. You can take a little treble away and add a little bit more bass, and that's the first step to manufacturing an LP.
The lathe starts with a blank disc and then literally cuts the groove that you play back. And it has to be cut very precisely because the changes that are being made are on the scale of a mil, which is 1/1000th of an inch.
We are completely hell-bent on having the best sounding version that we possibly can. And so what that process includes most often is the mastering engineer will cut a lacquer, will then press some test pressings, and then those test pressings will come to Chad's office. We'll just listen to the same thing over and over for days, comparing it to every different version we can find.
I get the original album. We'll have 2 different turntables, and I can flip back and forth. They want to hear their favorite album sounding better than they've ever heard it before. And you know why I know that's what they want? It's because that's what I want. Analog is known for its warmth, its richness, its smoothness, and that's what we want. We want it to sound like nice analog tape.
He'll either get a hold of me and say, hey, I played that, it sounds great, or he'll say, the vocal could use a little more warmth on the low end, can you add a little boost down there for that? And I'll say, sure, and then I cut it again, and it goes through the whole process again, and then winds up at Chad, and he gives it the thumbs up or the thumbs down, and we go from there.
I'm not a recording engineer. I'm not a mastering engineer. I'm not a plating engineer. But I'm the last ears before it hits the public or the consumer. Plus, it's my label. It's my name that's going on it. I think I know what my customer's looking for.
And I'll tell you this, after 6 times, if we still didn't think we had the highest quality, Chad would spend the money to cut it a 7th time, a 10th time, a 15th time, if he thought that it would yield a higher quality product.
I remember one time he was putting together an album of female vocals, and he called me up. Did you add a little bit of lower mid-range or something to the vocal on that Peggy Lee track? And it was such a minuscule change, I thought nobody would ever spot that. And that was the one track that I had tweaked on that thing, and Chad caught it. So yes, he has a very good ear, at times better than I wish he had.
Plating is really where you're making the parts that are then going to fit into the record press to make your records.
It's very hard, but it's a very, very important part of the process.
You got to go through several steps to get there. When they send you a lacquer, it's acetate on a tin plate with the music cut into it, and you have to actually make a metal part off of that.
It's lacquer to father to mother to stamper to record.
When a lacquer comes in, it's important to process it right away.
The main advantage to that is that there's no time basically for the lacquer to degrade.
We can plate the same day, which is the ultimate. Hardly anybody can do that because hardly anybody has their own mastering facility in the same town.
I can cut a lacquer on really high-grade equipment and then just drive it over a few blocks and have it plated immediately.
That day it comes in, I'll go ahead and we'll open the box, we'll get them prepped.
The lacquer is then sprayed with silver nitrate to make it electrically conductive.
It'll go in the tank all night. When I come in the morning, I got a beautiful shiny silver master I can pull off of it. We make our own silver. I believe that using that fresh silver recipe is what locks in the sound right away. It's an ancient secret recipe. There's like only maybe 3 people that know how to do it.
There's very few plating guys in the world, and even less that know what they're doing and do it right.
In plating, you have a chance for things going wrong on every stage that you work with it. Air can build up on them and cause oxidation stains. Dents happen very easily. If you miss one chemical, you're done.
It goes through an electroforming process that basically involves a series of negatives of each other.
So you have to go from positive to a negative to a positive to a negative. The mother is a positive, you can listen to it. We'll sound test it before we go to stamper. Tony Blair's our definitive ear of what passes and what doesn't. He loves vinyl as much as anybody I know. He sound checks my metal, he does the repairs on my metal. You've probably heard a record where it makes that little sound. That is a pop. And at QRP, we really don't pass pops. So we'll take an X-Acto knife, like a little microsurgery, and just pop whatever the imperfection is out of that groove.
What impresses me about Stan and the plating is when I get the final product in my hands, it's quiet. We have fantastic plating and good people in quality control along each step to check it so it doesn't go all the way down the line and get released and have these defects on there.
When we think that that mother's good, then off of that mother, we'll come out and we'll make the stamper. And the stampers are what actually go out to the press.
We have somebody that has really taken that plating art form, because it's as much art as it is science, and he's really tried to become the best, and he continuously refines his approach to try to achieve even better.
It's awesome to be a part of it. And we're doing the best to make the best records that we can every day.
Chad set out to build the pressing plant with the express purpose of pressing the highest quality records. I'd say that he took a bit of a gamble in naming it Quality Record Pressings.
Building a pressing plant was the hardest thing I ever done.
Nobody had been making presses for multiple decades. We were turning over every stone, doing weird things to find them. Chad acquired a cache of presses from Chicago that had not been operational for multiple decades and were in total disrepair. So then it's like a classic car restoration where you've got to machine parts, you have to almost build the thing beyond the frame from scratch. It was a pretty grueling process, really.
Each machine definitely has its own personality. I'll talk to the machines and people think I might be a little crazy, but I feel like the machines have a soul to them.
It's just giving a little pep talks, just like everybody. You gotta give yourself a little pep talk some days.
Come on, baby, let's make this record, or tell me what's wrong.
You're a good girl, it's gonna be all right. Just go over there and pet it, just like your dog at home. You're just giving it a little pep talk.
We take raw material, which is PVC. It melts down into what looks like a hockey puck.
Puck comes in, press in the machine. The steam takes over, which spreads the record.
Machine cuts the excess flash, opens up, it pulls the record out, and you can put it on a turntable and listen to it.
It's really a cool process, but it can't be rushed.
I think it's more mental than physical. You got to use your brain more than your body.
It's almost like you're giving your brain away to the machine. We're going in one direction, the machine's like, no, 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 we're going this way.
It's easy to make a record, but to have it to a point where we're happy with it, to where we can sell it to the customer, that can be tricky.
Oh, it is, because you think you can just go in and put a puck in a machine and it's just gonna press a great record. There's just so many variables with every different record.
Too hot of a record, it could warp or dish.
Classical music, you know, you don't want too much non-fill or you don't want too much surface noise. You can make a record better by just little nuances, like making the whole better.
They have a saying in the record-making business, making a good record's not hard. It's making them all good that's hard.
When you make thousands and thousands of records and you go through hundreds of stampers, there's gonna be one or two that's just not good. It's just a part of the business.
It's always been about making the best sounding records, the quietest lead-ins, the quietest spreads in between songs. That's what we have constantly been taught that it has to be, and if it wasn't, it just didn't pass.
As the record's coming off, we make sure that it visually looks good, no new dents have popped up or no new defect. We also go into the sound room and give it a sound check, so listening for surface noise, listening for any new dents or ticks or other defects. We all have different things that we hear. It's a very meticulous job, and I don't think anything really is getting out of the building that's not supposed to. Quality control starts so many departments before me. Each department has to be very meticulous in everything that they do, because it will just kind of trickle down to the next person.
Our QC people are very empowered. They have the power to shut down the press if that standard is slipping at all.
It's nothing bad, they're just doing their job. It sucks sometimes.
Oh, come on, it's so good.
And they're just like, nope.
No, it doesn't work for me.
Break a lot of hearts throughout the day.
It hurts a little bit sometimes, but that's part of the job.
Because we want to make the best perfect records.
We even pass QC responsibilities onto our packaging department.
It doesn't go to the customer until packaging inspects every single record.
It's being inspected multiple times between getting received and getting packed. We're getting eyes on it.
My dream job was to work on album covers. It's the art of simplicity. You know, less is more. You can look at those old Francis Wolff photos, and the photo is beautiful in and of itself. And then they just put a little color layer over it, slap typography on there, and it's like, that's iconic. And visually, it's just like, that's all you need. Boom, right there. Speaks for itself. The music translates through it. It's a work of art. Blue Train, perfect.
We're not trying to redesign the cover. That's a classic piece of art. But we want it to look perfect.
The customer basically wants a brand new copy of an album from the year that that thing came out. It's almost like a detective mystery sometimes. So you go in and figure out how they laid it out and what typography they use, and we'll fill in the blanks. Sometimes we'll get original photos from the parent label, but a lot of times they don't have this stuff, and we gotta just start from scratch.
We try to find the best quality album jacket of the original we can.
And then we'll go in and start cleaning it up, pixel by pixel. It's fun, but it is tedious.
A lot of times we reset the font.
Some of these older fonts are special characters, or an A will be different, or a question mark will be different. If that's the case, we'll find that font, omit those characters that are different, and then redraw them. You know, anchor point by anchor point, we'll go in and just redo it. It would be nice to just say, yeah, you know what, it's good enough. But that's not how we do things, so you want it to be perfect. When you put this finished piece out, it's gonna look exactly like an original, without any of the blemishes, without anything on it.
You want the jacket to be at the top level. You know, that's the first thing they see.
They're those tip-on, old school, it looks like it was, you know, made in the 60s. And just feels sturdy. There's no bend to it or anything.
They call it the old school jacket, where you get a cardboard blank and then they print on paper and they glue it to the cardboard. It's thicker, it's better, it feels better.
They have the highest quality jacket printed on the highest quality paper, highest quality cardboard stock.
They want something that's going to protect this for a long time.
The art in a 12 by 12 format is a big part of what makes vinyl special for a lot of people. It makes it more social, it's something to share, it's something to collect.
If the art ties into the music and it's a symbiotic connection, it brings them closer to that record, and it helps people love certain records even more.
The warehouse, to describe it in simple size terms, is the length of a city block. It's a lot of square footage, and we have inventory from end to end, pallets of things as well as individual cases of things. It's big, it's a lot of walking. You definitely get your steps in every day. We have multiple teams within the warehouse. I have a receiving team, I have a packing team, I have a picking team, and then a wholesale team.
Most orders come in through the website. We do take orders over the phone. A lot of times they're people who maybe have some questions on products or want to know what's new in stock but don't have a computer. I actually talk to a gentleman every Thursday, and he is my favorite customer, John. He's an older gentleman, retired, doesn't have a computer, and we talk for 30 minutes, and I tell him what's new and what's worth buying since we talked last week. If he doesn't call me on Thursday, I get worried. I'm like, do I need to call in a welfare check? Because there's new vinyl here. Like, you need it, John. Once you kind of build, that relationship with the customer where you've talked a couple times, you start to understand what they're after, what they're looking for, what type of music they like best.
Anything that's Analog Productions, Acoustic Sounds, if it's our product, it's being pressed, boxed up, and then put on a pallet and literally driven across the street on a forklift to our loading dock, where we're putting it in stock and we are shipping it out immediately. We're doing 700 to 800 packages, and our high days are close to 1,400. Within my team, I stress I want it done well and accurately over quick. I love reading reviews about how we pack things. Like, our pack jobs are the highest quality that I've seen of any company shipping things out. We like to call it pressure packing, to where things are not moving around in your box.
It's just assumed that your record would arrive to you in perfect condition. Well, in order for that to happen, some people really have to put a lot of care into that.
Audiophiles are picky people, but not in a bad way. I mean, you have a high-end system, you're paying for high-end records, you're wanting that audiophile quality. Seam splits is the #1 complaint. It happens a lot in transit. People are in such a hurry, and they want to get the stuff just delivered so they can move on.
We do all that work, spend all that money, all that time, and have a beautiful piece only to be damaged on the way from us to them? No, man, we had to figure that one out. We need to design a box that's gorilla-proof, that's idiot-proof.
We've contracted with a packaging engineer to design a box proprietary to us that affords the very best protection of the vinyl record.
It's like a briefcase for your records, and it can be reused as much as possible, and we love to see that. They love having those on hand to move their record collection in, because they know it's not going to get damaged.
We've got wholesale customers all over the world, so it's really cool to be like, oh, you can check out our Analog Productions in Italy or Spain or Germany.
Anytime I've described my job to people, I always tell them I have one of the coolest jobs in the world. Anything that I put in a box can reach anyone. I'm literally selling music to the world.
I think that the future is quite bright for vinyl.
It's just going to keep growing, as far as I can see.
The future for us is maintaining that quality and then also bring more product to market to satisfy that demand better.
I'm about making the ultimate for our customers, whether it's tape or records. I believe tape is the ultimate.
It's got full bass extension, beautiful smooth treble, nice warm tone quality in that mid-range. There are basically no compromises at all. And it just sounds beautiful.
The more people that hear it, the more people that get exposed to it, the more that are converted, inevitably, because it does sound just unbelievable. On the equipment sales side of things, we want to sell a fairly select line of the highest quality products, stuff that we think that people should listen to an Analog Productions record on.
I know that the record means more than any of the equipment, but I also know that it takes the equipment to hear what's on the record. When you have the best of both, now you're talking. We're going to specialize in that category, which is right after the source. We're going to sell the best cartridges, tone arms, turntables, record care products, phono preamps.
Quality is priority number one. What keeps you coming back for more is the sound, the engagement of the recording.
We're doing it. We're making this stuff the best it's ever been, and we got to keep this up. We got to hit more home runs.
I love it when I go somewhere and I see records that we were the ones that made, and you see our little quality sticker on the front of it.
I tell Chad, like, you're gonna have to wheel me out in a casket. Like, I'm here for the long haul. I love it.
Every record has a story. Every song has a story. The beauty of it, when it comes off the press and you see it, and you're like, I did this.
We all solve problems together, and we come up with solutions, and I love that about where I work.
Quality is, in fact, what's driving this whole thing. Chad's kind of unrelenting determination to achieve the highest quality. He's been working his whole life for this day, not knowing that it would happen, just building for it because he wanted to get better and better and have the highest quality product.
Everything's been a natural step, from selling records out of my apartment to selling audio equipment to reissuing records to recording records. It's all a natural progression from the beginning. And it's all been my customers giving me suggestions or telling me what they want. Everybody has a dream, and you look off to the future. But I was only just really looking to the next thing, one step. I never dreamed that what's going on now would ever happen. The next 10 years are just going to be so wonderful, and everybody is going to be so happy that we're the ones that are able to produce this music, and we're not going to let them down.